So there's a misconception that if you're single, you are incomplete, perhaps damaged, salvaged, and you won't be happy until you find your one. And that is not true. That is bullshit. It is a message that has been fed to us by media and advertising. The truth is, when you're single, you have the richest soil for growth. That's why I created this podcast. And unlike other podcasts, this one is host-driven, not guest-driven. That means I will be rotating health and wellness experts 3 times a week to give you the giant box of wellness crayons, not just the primary colors, so you can start building a meaningful life. It's time to give singlehood a cape. Today's host is someone I go way back with. His name is Sean Cardinalli. Sounds like a baseball player. He's a coach, writer, and activist who returned to coaching on sex and love addiction at the outset of the pandemic after a 4-year hiatus. He speaks the language, and his coaching style tends to lean toward 12-step recovery, which saved his own life and livelihood 14 years ago. He's also very transparent. Sean earned his local certification through Linda Bark's holistic coaching methodology and is pursuing his ICF certification and a degree in social work. So beyond sex and love addiction, Sean's practice focuses on intimacy, relationships, divorce, dating, and the creative process. Enjoy Sean Cardinalli.
What is up, everybody? It's good to be back. I've got the dopest motherfucker visiting today. Brandon Groux and I will be talking about breakups and relationships and navigating all that good shit, and you're going to want to hear what he says. It's Sean Cardinalli, sex and love addiction coach, and I'm here with a homie who is in this whole cohort that you all know about. John Kim's Single on Purpose, the platforms, the this, the that, the Tat Lab. And Brandon, it's good to have you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. Stoked to be here. Thanks for this invitation. Thanks for setting this up. It's good to see your face. And I'm excited to dive in with you.
Dude, I want people to hear your story. I'm excited too. You have not only one of the best personalities, and I can just imagine. I've done some, you know what? We're supposed to talk about relationships. We can't forget to do the breath work. So let me shut the fuck up before I start to give you all the kudos about a cool ass mustache and personality all at once. One big good package for the ladies out there, but and the good hair too.
I wish people could see me because I'm blushing. You can see how red I'm getting, Sean. So thank you.
There are promos. The promos, they will see us. So don't worry. They'll see it. Be like, oh, he's all red in that shit. Must have been when Sean was like fucking with him. But anyway, I'm so glad you're here, man. And you're I've come to respect you so much, knowing you about 2.5, 3 years, I think, during the COVID, all the COVID coaching, right? That whole cohort.
Yeah. I pretty much started doing some breath work with the Tat Lab. I guess it was the fall of 2020. I was introduced to John through a friend, and I did breath work for, what was that? The Weekend of Wellness was the first time I ever did it. And it was kind of a hit. And John was like, yeah, how about you start doing it twice a month in the community?
Right, on the regular. So I'm gonna set back pedal and set that stage, and then again want to hear all about your bio. That is where we met. John Kim during the shutdown, the worldwide shutdown, put together this community, this digital community, because of course people needed to get their self-care, self-help offload, especially given there were 3 or 4 fucking, crises or pandemics going on all at once. Not just COVID, but, it was racial, it was economical, it was everything. It was environment. There were like 4 fucking, just chaos, right?
Chaos.
You took a big breath. You took a big breath. Even as I said, it's like
reminders.
Your cells, it went somatic for a second. Your cells could feel it all for a second again. I'm sorry. Maybe that's a good storytelling. I got to put it in a novel or something, or a book. But anyway, so we met in this community that John Kim put together, and it fit well with his ethos of casual, not clinical, because we could only meet by Zoom. But we had dance parties. We had your breath sessions, which again, I know we're gonna focus on dating and breakups and shit, but you gotta talk about that. So I will shut the fuck up and please let you give yourself your own bio. Go for it.
Thank you, Sean. So yeah, it does all start with the breath work. Actually, that's where I first discovered it. 2019, I was backpacking through Mexico. I was finishing this trip, 6-week trip. The last week I was doing by myself, and I just received the news that I lost one of my best friends unexpectedly 10 days before his 29th birthday. I was fucking crushed. I was drinking myself to sleep every night, right after finding that out. And then I ended up staying at this retreat center called Pura Vida in Yalapa, Mexico, and spent a couple nights there. And there was a breathwork facilitator doing this like training course. Had no idea what the fuck breathwork was at that point. And I just got to know her, told her what I was moving through and processing. And she was like, hey, you got to give this a shot. Like, I think it'll be really helpful to process this loss. So I was like, let's do it. And I entered into this breathwork journey, super open, super vulnerable, just wrecked, like I was so sad, so angry, so crushed. And the first half of that breathwork experience, it was incredibly emotional. It was tears of just anger and grief and pain. And somewhere like midway through the journey, it all shifted into this like state of acceptance. And I remember just like the tears stopped for a bit, and I just felt this wave of acceptance. And that wave shifted into gratitude. Like the rest of the journey, it was just this abundance of gratitude and acceptance for knowing that my friend is gone, but for, the gratitude that I had him in my life for those years that we did get to share. And obviously some different tears started flowing after that. And I came out of that breathwork experience, and first of all, I looked at like the facilitator. I was like, first of all, that was fucking crazy. Second of all, that was like one of the most incredible experiences I've ever gone through. And that was like that's what hooked me. That one journey, I feel like I moved through the entire process of like the grieving, what I would consider the grieving process, in 1 hour. And fast forward about 6-8 months. COVID happens. I joined this 12-week men's emotional awareness program through the Unshakable Man. Chris Wilson and Mike Saguna at the time were the coaches. And I started this program, and they were facilitating the same kind of breath work every week. And it just became my church.
Wait, was that a coincidence, or did you seek them out because of the breath work?
Nope.
Or it just happens that
complete coincidence.
Bullshit.
Complete coincidence. Yep. So I had
That's not coincidence, homie. That's like kismet. That's like kismet.
One of my best friends in the entire world, she's someone that I always confided in about everything. And she was just like, like I have so many men in my life. And she realized that I didn't express, how I was feeling to these men. I only really showed it with her. And she was like, you need some healthy men in your life. And she kind of pushed me to this program, this 12-week program. It was during COVID, so it was perfect. It was virtual. And they were offering breathwork every Sunday, and I was living in my van. So wherever I was at, I had to make sure I had 4 bars of service so I could drop in and do virtual breath work. And, through that, seeing the power for myself. But then, at the end of breath work, everyone that was on the call would get on, turn on the camera and like share about these aha moments, share about these experiences they had, and to just like witness these men open up and be so incredibly vulnerable and share about what they just moved through was so moving to me that I wanted more. And that's when kind of the light bulb went off, and I was like, I want to get into coaching. I want to learn more about this breath work so I can hold this space for other people, so I can share it with the world, because I was blown away at how I didn't know it existed yet, and like how so many people don't know that it exists, because it is so powerful.
Yeah. It's I've said this, you're going to blush some more, but everybody, you'll get all the contact info from us when they go on the platform and they see the podcast posted and everything, but they got to contact you. I'm telling you, what Brandon's talking about is as revelatory as he's saying. I had my drug years, and the only time I've come close to that kind of like emotional purging and deep diving, and also that, almost a little bit of not ego annihilation, not like I'm on acid or something, but just really good peaceful remove where I can just observe myself, is when I've done the breath work with you. And Brandon did a couple of those during the weekends of wellness, like you said. The Tat Lab we called it the Tat Lab, was that community, and we would come together for these weekends and have these virtual conventions. And again, Brandon, brought his gift. You got a fucking gift to this convention and this platform. it's unbelievable. And everybody, there are no drugs. This is not ayahuasca. This is not fucking psilocybin. This is like Brandon walks you through and encourages you to breathe in a certain way. You know what I call it? I call it my blood feels carbonated when I work with you. And you actually tell them, like what changes, the oxygen levels change.
Yeah. So that's what's happening. And it's funny you talk about like that ego death and because what's actually is happening. So we're over oxygenating, right? We're taking in much more oxygen than we normally would. We're also releasing much more carbon dioxide than we normally would. And that imbalance of CO2 and O2 in the body and bloodstream is what allows us to enter into this state, potentially this altered state like you're talking about, right? Like, because it does have these similar characteristics of like a plant medicine journey and experience. And we can enter into this state called transient hypofrontality. So transient meaning temporary, right? We can go in and out of it. Hypo, which is the opposite of hyper, so to down-regulate. And frontality is referring to your prefrontal cortex, where your ego is stored. Right? So as you're breathing, that prefrontal cortex, the ego, the monkey mind, the chatter, right? That shuts down. And we can drop out of our head and into our heart space, into our feeling body. And that's when those emotions can start to come up, because that's where we hold everything, right? That's where we hold, the body keeps the score. So we hold those traumas, those fears, those worries, those doubts all in the body. So it's an opportunity to, you got to feel it to heal it. So your body starts to feel that pain, feel that anger, feel that shame, that guilt. And then it's a chance, one of my favorite parts of the journey is the primal scream, where, I give people the opportunity, like, this is a chance to just give a voice to whatever's inside that needs to be let the fuck out and let go of. And it looks and sounds different for everyone. Sometimes it's a scream, sometimes it's a roar, a hoot, a holler, a yell, a laugh, a cry, whatever it looks like or sounds like for you. It's just this opportunity for shedding, this opportunity for release. And then there's that release is what creates the space for more joy and connection and purpose and clarity and passion, whatever comes up.
Dude, I almost, we're like 10 minutes in, and I almost am like, oh my God, should we shift gears and just have you talk about this fucking journey, this amazing journey you guide people through every fucking week? Like, it's like Dante's, but like Paradiso, like the last part. But let's pivot. And again, the word that always, I'm kind of a wordsmith, a word snob, and a writer, but revelatory. I mean, until I find something better or just stick with that, it really is. It really is. It's magical, dude. It's really, you've got an amazing fucking gift. So again, I want to just encourage everybody. I would have never, kind of like you bumping into it. Again, it was like Kismet. I would have never thought to do it. Didn't know anything about it. You go and you're in this painful spot, bump into it in the middle of Mexico, and then you find it again up here as you're going to this retreat. That's beautiful.
The craziest part too is I was supposed to be in that part of Mexico at the beginning of my trip. And there was this massive fucking storm, and the town is only accessible by boat. And the town flooded. I couldn't get there till 6 weeks later. So yes,
6 weeks?
6 weeks, yeah.
So it completely upended your schedule, dude. I'm shaking my head. People can't see it, but that's kismet. It was just meant to fucking be. And I don't believe in fate, but god damn.
I mean, we would not be having this conversation right now unless that storm hit Yelapa, Mexico in the fall of 2019.
Right. So how do we go from the breath work and additional coaching, and maybe let me know if you pick up some other modalities, and then how that affects how you talk to men about themselves, their emotions, and specifically what we're going to focus on today, everybody, is the dating and the breakups and dealing with the breakups. So how is that a function of your coaching, and how did you get there? I guess it should be the other way around. How did you get there, and then how's it a function?
Yeah, so as I was going through that 12-week men's emotional awareness program, and that opened so much up for me. I realized I wanted more. I wanted more depth, and I wanted to go deeper. So I ended up hiring one of those coaches to work one-on-one together. And through that work, I was in the hospitality industry my entire life. So bartending, beverage director at fine dining restaurant. And I kind of thought that was my dream job, and that I made it. Sick restaurant in Vail, Colorado. And then COVID hit, pushed me out of that, which was, such a blessing. And through that work with Chris Wilson, I realized I could be this person for someone else. And that's when I went through Lumia, John's coaching program, went through another program. And as I was going through those and learning the principles of coaching and how to, create these safe and brave spaces for people to show up and to work with them, is when I was going through a breakup and a transition. And, it was that was one of my lowest points. I had done all this work with a coach, this men's group, all this breath work. And then I entered into this new relationship. And I was like, fuck, I got it figured out. Like, I'm so much more aware of like my flaws and how to express them and how to be vulnerable and emotional and open. Like, I got this. This one's going to work. And when it started not to, my past is like littered with pushing people away, pushing super healthy and amazing people and partners away. And very avoidant. Yep. Creating stories of why they weren't the right person, all this shit, the mess. And so when I was with someone and really created this like fantasy story that I had to get to of like, this is it, this is the one, I found this new town, this new partner, like this is amazing. When it started not working out and she pushed me away, I became so incredibly anxious and I had no idea how to handle that. I grasped and chased and lost myself and, disconnected from what filled me up and tried to do anything I can to like be there and think that was, a way to keep this relationship alive. And all it did was suffocate and push that person away even more.
Did you get you said chase, and that's one thing that I will not fucking do anymore. But were you chasing? Was it codependent? It was anxious. What was her reaction? Was
she like, I mean, so much
still dating you, or like fuck off? Like, she was like, stop.
Things started to shift, and it was during COVID, so we started dating, July, August, whatever of 2020, and everything was shut down. I'm in a new town, so all I knew was like her and her friends. So yeah, that's where the codependency came into play. And when it started not working out, all these fears of, if I lose her, I lose this friend group that I have. And so it was just like this I was just showing up from a place of fear rather than like actual love. And luckily, like I had my men's group. Luckily, I had a coach. So as I was trying to move through that and process it, I was supported. But that's when the light bulb went off of there's hundreds and thousands of people everywhere that are going through this that don't have this support, that don't have these spaces to be able to open up and express the things that they're going through and their struggles as this breakup is happening. So yeah, that was like what was the catalyst for me to create my 8-week coaching program of helping people, heal after a breakup. And go ahead.
That's right. No, that's right. I'm sorry. I know you saw me like pop off in the video, and I didn't mean to stop your train of thought. So you had the breath work under your belt. You had the Lumia under your belt. You had another coaching course. Your life is just, you're all like feels, right? You're all like, you're open and vulnerable and, going through it. And then this situation with the relationship happens, and then you're like, oh, and you're going to take that experience and then offer like a curated 8-week piece for people.
Exactly. And that's,
wow.
And that, it starts with a one-on-one breathwork journey. That's what the program starts with, 75-minute breathwork journey. And that's what kind of kicks off the coaching relationship. And yeah, I have like a set kind of idea of what each week will look like, but everyone is at a different point in their journey, in their recovery from heartbreak. So, I curate that program specifically to the person. But yeah, we do a lot of, work on creating empowering meaning behind the relationship, what that person was here to teach them, what would be at risk if they were still with that partner, whether it was toxic or not. Everything they took away. For some people, they're in relationship with someone that is just an amazing, incredible person, and they feel so in love and connected, and that person's shown up for them in a way that they never have, and all these great things, but that person wasn't for them. So that person ended the relationship. So, it's an opportunity to then take away like, hey, this is what I now know that I need from a future partner. Right. So it's about taking away pieces that you can, trusting that partner in that relationship was here for you. and that this breakup is not happening to you.
That's fucking awesome. You know, there's a guy, Rob Brezhny, is an astrologer, and he made up a term called pronoia as a counter to paranoia, that the universe actually has your best interest in mind. And I love how that's what you're coaching these people through, is that yes, the pain, yes, the loss, yes, the hurt, doubts, everything that comes up, right? All the negative that comes up. But what can you, it's like you can be discreet. What can you take positively away from it? That's fucking brilliant, man, because we can all just stew and think that like that was the one. And for one fucking thing, you and I have to talk about that some other time, or maybe this time. But like, I don't believe in like the fucking one. I don't believe in soulmates. People like Danae Logan are changing the terms and changing the definitions a little bit, but all of that comes from scarcity mindset is how I interpret it. And so I love how you're like, yeah, but what's the good? What good can come from that? That's wonderful. So I'm gonna put it on you. What good came from the turning point relationship that actually got you to build that 8-week piece? What did you take from that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like the biggest thing I think, just the opportunity to now support people in their healing journey, right? Because obviously none of that would have happened had this not occurred. For me personally, you know, it really turned on the light bulb for all the things of my past that I just did not actually process in past relationships. So it was an opportunity for me to really like sit and process that relationship. It was the first time that I ever actually feel like I took the time to slow down, to process, to take accountability for my part in the downfall and the unraveling of it. And before, when a relationship would start to end, it was like, okay, cool, like fuck it, let's go party, let's go drink, let's go get under someone to get over someone, let's like lily pad to lily pad. And never ever did I ever take the time to think about what my part was, right? Like it was a lot more of like blame, no, this is on them. And you know, obviously that is so incredibly unhealthy, and you know, probably is why a lot of those patterns continued for so long. Right. So, and as I was processing, it was funny because, you know, a lot of the things that I would do to like distract myself in the past, like go downhill mountain biking, go snowboarding, like go skydive or do something extreme to like not have to think or feel or process. I broke a rib while I was going through this breakup, and it was during the snowboard season. I broke my rib. I dislocated between my like breastplate and my rib. So I literally like didn't have any other choice but to fucking sit and but to be inside and to feel.
Right.
So it was like the universe, like, yeah, it was like you have no other choice but to sit here and feel the pain and to feel the sadness and to accept your role in the downfall of it and fucking learn from it finally.
Dude, it's interesting that the language that you're using is what I share a lot in my sex and love addiction class. And, you know, I say this all the fucking time, and people listen to the podcast, they'll be like, dude, you say that every fucking time you're talking. But I never tell my clients, I never diagnose. One, I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, or a therapist. I'm a coach. So I never diagnose. I'm like, you got to tell me if you think this is addiction, compulsion, whatever. I'll tell you, ooh, I've heard that before. I can say that, but you know, that's familiar. It's a pattern, but some of the language you're using reminds me of the 12-step, right? Because I do a lot of my stuff is informed by 12-step. I don't sponsor people. I don't sponsor clients. It's broader than that. But when you're talking about taking responsibility, it's tough for people, especially when you got broken up with. But even just a session with a client, a new client I had tonight, had, you know, really toxic relationships, and we tend to get into like victim mode and all of that. And yeah, it hurts when someone breaks up, and yeah, maybe it mainly is them, not us, and they may even say that, you know, as opposed to, you know, John and Vanessa's book flipping that idiom around. But what's great is that you're like, there's still my part. Not that I'm an asshole, not that I'm throwing like some mad negativity on it. It's like, what can I learn from this and then do differently, or be even attuned differently to the next time, right? And that doesn't mean like be paranoid, look for red flags or any shit like that. You know what I mean? It's just, I love how you keep saying like, what's my part? What can I take responsibility for and then learn from and then move forward.
Yep. And that was definitely something that was new for me at that time, right? Like I said, because I wasn't doing that in the past. And, I see that with clients all the time. I see that especially like working with men, right? Like, and I want to be that support system for men so they're not making these mistakes. So they do have the opportunity to slow down and to process and to show up from this place of like empowerment and, take pride in acknowledging their faults.
Yeah. Right. The humanness, not again, not victim shaming, not, what I tell my clients, I'm like, dudes, we will never go a shame route. Like, especially because I'm dealing with a lot of addicts, right? Or compulsives or codependents. Like, I can't help you get out of shame by shaming you further. Like, cafeteria Catholic, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to shame. It's all got to be constructive, right? Edifying. It can be critical, like you're saying. It could be like, what part can I, question them? What part can you take responsibility for X, Y, and Z? But always constructive,
Right.
Always with like compassion. That's
exactly
the word, compassion.
That is the word, right? So meeting, taking accountability and then meeting yourself with that grace and compassion that you deserve, right? Because a lot of times we're not taught this shit. A lot of times we don't know better. We're just out there doing the best that we can, right? But when we're in these relationships where we're so trapped in trying to win this person back, and we're chasing, like, those blinders are just on and we're in it, and it's so hard to take a step back and just like actually realize what the fuck is happening in the moment. It's so hard.
Awareness. Grow some awareness, grow some conscientiousness. I always refer to it as with the awareness, like, look at the scenario you're in, or the life or the paths or decisions you're choosing, like a prism, right? Sit there and like turn it, let the light go through it. What are the new little facets and images you're getting, right? And I got two questions, and I know you're not supposed to stack questions as a coach, but one's a short one, and then one I expect a good fucking answer from you. Are you coaching men and women, people who identify as male or female, or just men?
Yeah, I do work with all people, and
oh, you do? Okay.
I do. I work with everyone, and but I do just have this like deep passion for men's work, because that is how I got into this, that program, and through the Unshakable Man, and just I feel most rewarded when I work with a group of men, right? So like, I do the men's group bi-weekly in the Single and Purpose community. We've shared a men's group together. I have a men's group that I go to in person in Encinitas, and I just leave those groups really just always reminded how important they are, and how powerful they are, and just how needed. And that's, especially guys that it's their first time. They show up, they're nervous, they're afraid to speak, they're afraid to show up, they're not knowing how they'll be received, and they leave and they're like, I had no idea how much I needed that. I had no idea that these spaces existed. I can't wait to come back.
Or that I hear too. Most of my 12-step is men's only. I sometimes go to an all gender one, which can be sometimes revelatory, because it's me hearing something that might be triggering as a cisgendered heterosexual man, but just trying to see that sister, mother, neighbor as a recovering addict like me, and not spinning off in my fucking like triggers or any shit like that, right? But just like you're saying, so many newbies come to these 12-step meetings or these other groups where it's all men, or the guys in the classes that you're doing now, or the ones that we've shared. American men don't even have an idea that it was possible to even go there, because of our acculturation, because of whether it's nature or nurture or both, and it's usually both, but especially the cultural shit, the nurture stuff. It was passed down like a bad fucking disease or something, somatic, grandfather to father to son. And these dudes walk away going, we can do this. It's like you give them permission as a coach, right?
So good. So needed.
Yeah. The other question that I was going to follow up with was then, in this old springboard right off what we were talking about, is why is it so important to talk to men about breakups?
I think for me, when I look at myself, when I look at my story, when I look at, the friends that I grew up and the mistakes that we've made when it comes to like relationships and like the harm that we've caused other people, like, I think that's what like I hold, the shame and the guilt for is like, hurting other people. Right. And, if I can work with men and lately it's been this idea of working with men at an earlier stage. Because I feel like the age range of these like men's groups that are, the youngest person is usually, I don't know, maybe in their mid 20s, like maybe. And I know a lot of shit went wrong before that could have prevented me from making the mistakes that I did, in my late teens and early 20s. Right. So like who's there supporting that group?
So are you specifically now in your practice as a coach and as a men's coach, you're specifically angling on like teens, college age,
Not at
or?
all. Not at all. Like I'm not, I currently am just, having the men's group that I'm with. I'm not out there pursuing that age group, but that's, something that's been weighing on me and that I've really wanted to try to tap into and to access and to find a way to create some more groups and spaces that are targeted toward that age group. Right.
Got
Because
it.
I
Got
think
it. You see it
there's
as
a lot of opportunity to help, shift and mold and constructively support men at that age, because I feel like they just don't have it. Right.
yeah,
And I think
yeah,
back of like the toxicness of when I was in college and being in a fraternity and like what it like that you were cool because of how many women you slept with. Like, and that's where I feel like a lot of shift needs to happen.
okay. No, that's fair. That's fair, and it's almost like an untapped cohort or demographic,
I think so.
and yeah, and I mean it's cool in the 12-step rooms and in the groups. I mean, I'll be 50 this year, and you see a lot of late 30s, definitely 40s and 50s, and then a little bit older. And you're saying that you've been seeing in your current one. I haven't been on nearly as much to visit with you. Some mid 20s, but no, it'd be interesting if you can, especially, and let me, it's a little bit of a tangent here, but especially because I have heard so many Gen Zers and, on the younger end of millennials um, talking about, but before I was even a coach, Brandon, I had coworkers at this place that I managed, customer service. I won't say any more details than that, but I was managing a customer service space, a store, and dudes were coming up to me and like confessing. I must have been getting off of the coaching, the aura or something even back then. Maybe I'll dust my shoulder off a little bit and say like, "Look, I had it in me all along. I just took a long time to
You
get there."
create that
But
space for people.
that's right. That's right. And they would come up and literally be like, "Dude, like I can't get it up for my girl because I keep watching porn." I was like, "Yeah, that's what happens." And they knew I wasn't fucking with porn. I never actually outright broke my anonymity with them. But they'd have it on their cell phone and try to flash it to me and say, "Hey, look at this." And I'm like, "I don't do that." That's all I would say. And so then maybe as a result of that, knowing my disposition, they would later on come to me and be like, "Dude, I'm having like issues." It's like, dude, that's not. And so this speaks to the cohort, the demographic you're talking about, a little bit younger, because and I think Rena Martin, a couple of the people that we know in the different cohorts we're running through have talked too about, dude, like porn it's not real. That's not like a sex ed at all.
Fuck
Like
no.
it's just no, it's just as I mean, people listening would be like, yeah, no, fuck no, like you, like of course not. But when you're 15, 16,
You
17,
think it is?
18,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like they're watching that like they're watching the Batman or the next fucking like Mission Impossible movie. It's like, yo, bro, you can't utilize it's no more that's no more real than you're gonna go stop a nuclear bomb like Tom Cruise did, right, in all those movies. So it's important. I keep us posted on if you do land that spot or create that space like officially for these younger cats, because I think that would do a hell of a lot
I
of
will.
good.
I will.
Yeah, yeah. What do you got for breakup remedies? What are some of the tools you're throwing out at folks? I got a handful that I'll share, but I wanted to hear what you got.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear yours because I know last time we chatted, it was about you moving through a breakup, and so I'm curious to hear where you're at in that journey for yourself. But yeah, like I said, like through my program, it is that one step of really creating that empowering meaning behind it. I do a lot of work with IFS journeying, internal family systems. So essentially, taking people.
Explain that. I don't
Yeah,
know that.
it's made famous from Dr. Richard Schwartz. Essentially, it is like I take people through like a meditation, but I do use breath work through it as well to kind of help people open up a bit more. And we go back to different times, different ages, different situations where people can remember from childhood that was traumatizing, that they didn't receive love from their primary caregivers, that and has something that's like weighed on them and has affected them up into these adult years, right? So just an example, actually a couple weeks ago I led my client through one, and it was a specific memory where she was 8 and she was in this room with her mom, and they were in an argument and a fight, and it was like one of the times where they were in the screaming match, and she just felt so disconnected from her mom and just felt so unloved, and so like there was just like such a lack of emotional safety and maturity. And through this kind of like breathwork, meditation, hypnosis, and like a series of questions for them to reconnect to this her 8-year-old self, and physically put herself back into that room, and create this safety and bond with her 8-year-old self, so that her younger version of her could receive that love that she didn't get from her mom at the time, from her adult self, right? And she was
Mm.
actually able to be there and support her, and get to the point where she was visualizing herself holding her and keeping her safe, and then like taking her out of that room.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, where does she want to go now? And she's like, she wants to go to Hogwarts and just like live this like amazing, happy, stoked life. And it was so cool because I brought her out of that journey, and I was like, yeah, like, how are you feeling right now? What's coming up? She took a deep breath and she was like, you know what? I feel like I just slayed a dragon. Like I am a
Nice.
fucking dragon slayer. And so
That's
that was like
awesome,
so cool to
man.
see. So yeah, I use that, and a lot of it is just like now getting people to see this opportunity that they have, right? I know John talks a lot about like breakups are, actually the richest soil for personal growth and self-discovery and personal development. So it is this chance to like put the focus back onto to you after a breakup, and fill your cup with the things that you maybe put aside, or put on the back burner for your partner, or you didn't have the time, or whatever the excuses that you made while you're in a relationship. Right. And now it's like time to go experience those, and then really redefining what you want from a partner. Right. So like
Mm-hmm.
thinking about your own values, your own needs, your own non-negotiables, so that, when the right person comes along, you're aware of those things. You're able
Mm-hmm.
to speak to them. You're able to be curious about um, that person's values, so you know that they align. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So and you can like get yourself back out there and start to date with intention. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
my goal after 8 weeks is for people to be resoundingly secure in who they are and what they offer, that they'll never settle for less. And then people are, some people are ready to stay single on purpose, and other people are ready to courageously step back into the dating world. So we start to navigate that together.
Right, right. Courageously and confidently, right? A little more confidence, a little more self-possessed. I like how you said, redefine what you want. And no, that dude, that all sounds wonderful. Are these sessions the 8 weeks? Is it just an hour? Because it sounds like you pack a lot of real rich. Talk about the rich soil that John says. So, are you doing like an hour and a half, 2 hours with people, or what are you doing?
Hour-long session through Zoom, and then there is like quite a decent bit of work for them to do in between sessions.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
where like the majority of the work gets done, so that when we do come to session, it's like it's so powerful because of what they had accomplished, the assignments that they did, and whether it's journal prompts, whether it's like, I know we talked about this, and I'm excited for you to share more about like your personal like burn ceremony and what that looks like. But that's
Right,
like
right.
something I offer in my program. And um,
Nice.
but yeah, it's with almost every one of my clients, like we get to the 2, 3, 4 week mark, and there's just like they have this aha moment, something magical happens, and I'm like, we pause and I take a breath and I'm like, do you remember where you were like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? And they're like, fuck. Yes, I do. And it feels really good to be where I'm at now.
That's awesome. That's a great move to hold up that mirror. Right. So you can remind them of their progress, and they might be in it and feeling great and everything, but you can just that.
And then what we do, I call it basking. So it's like, okay, let's bask in this feeling and allow your whole nervous system and every cell to like experience how fucking amazing it feels to be right now. So I'm just like, yeah, lean back like you're just getting blasted with the sun and just like bask in it and bask in this growth and where you're at and celebrate it.
Dude, you're a fucking amazing coach. I'm like fucking a little, I don't traffic in envy. Usually usually I'm like, ooh, what can I learn from that? But that's a fucking great move, man. So see again, everybody, y'all need to hit this brother up and take in some breath work and some coaching. That's dope. That makes a lot of sense. I have a hard time, not Sean the coach, Sean just the dude. And also, don't let me refer to myself in the third person.
But, I'm going to call you the dude from now on. One day we'll share a Caucasian together.
That's right. I got a beverage here, man. Dude, don't get us. Dude, that'll be a whole other fucking podcast. I can quote that whole movie frontward and backward.
Old man said I can take any rug in the house. God,
oh my God. Excuse me, dear. Okay, no. Okay, let's stop. Can do that whole thing. All right. We got to have a Lebowski fucking podcast. That'll be dope. We have only about like 5-10 minutes anyway. Cause you know what? I don't like to hear, I'm so glad that we've got to hear so much of your story and your modality and how you handle things and how you got there. Cause I don't like hearing myself fucking yap for that's bullshit. I love listening to
and I love hearing you yap. So, but no, I appreciate you like guiding and curating this conversation and you're so good at that, Sean. But I do want to hear, because last we spoke and you never, we haven't reconnected about it, but just about the breakup that you just went through and the tools you use for yourself and, where you're at now with it.
I'm trying to think what the fuck that was, because it must have been a long time since we've had a good sit down. So for one thing, I do want to share, and again, maybe it's for another, we'll be on a couple podcasts. We'll do this again for sure. But last year from 20, I'm getting my timeline mixed up because it all blurs in the 3 years of COVID, right? So 2020 to 20, this is 23. Fuck, see? From 2021 to 2022, I had this fucking, and most of 2022, it was fucking dark night of the soul time, man. And again, it's another podcast, talk about the whys and whens and wherefores. Maybe we'll get like 3 or 4 of us be like, when was your dark night? But I had never really truly experienced like that. And Brandon, everybody, was one of my 3 or 4, I call you guys angels. And kind of like how we were talking about Kismet with you getting to Mexico 6 weeks later, I swear to fucking God, it was either picking up a phone or remembering to text you or call, or you called me, hey, we got a free session or what, breath session. I was like, fuck yes, I'll take it. And, again, 3 or 4 other people just popped in like that and changed the course of that whole fucking year. Now I still stayed dark, but that's because with the breath work that I did with you and a couple other tweaks from other people, dude, I hit, what do you call it? I hit the fucking, not the gold. I mean, I guess the gold mine, the main nerve. I hit my core fucking fear and was like, oh my God. So again, everybody, I want to reiterate just how potent Brandon's work is. And for something, especially like me, you have no fucking idea what you're walking into at breathwork. Okay, I'm just going to like do like Lamaze, like what the fuck? No, dude, it's like this amazing, again, my blood got carbonated and revelations just come.
Remember how crazy, sorry to interrupt, remember how crazy it was? I play music. I curate a playlist for everyone. And I remember like I tested the music. I was like, Sean, can you hear the music? And you're like, yeah, I hear it. And I'm like, oh shit, hold on. Give me a second. I want to show you. We had just developed our new website for One Aether. And I was like, check out the website, check out what it looks like. And then I forgot to reshare the music. So then we went through the whole breathwork journey with no music. But like all the songs that were like really deep and meaningful and had really powerful lyrics, you were visualizing, like seeing you breathe and cry and move through it. It was like you were hearing those songs. So the flow of the breathwork, of the journey of when we got to the primal scream, and I was hearing the music thinking you were too, but I wasn't sharing it. And then I remember the final song I used, a rendition of Three Little Birds. And it's like, everything's going to be all right. And you were saying everything's going to be all right. And that song, you couldn't hear the song. And it was just like, I remember when you told me that no music was playing. First, I was like kind of mortified. I was like, oh, fuck, like you didn't hear any music. But also I was like, it was such a reminder and about just that the breath does the work. Like it's not the music that is helping people move through this journey and this experience. It's the breath. And it was so clear to witness that from you. And it was so powerful. And I remember I got the chills. It was just, that was a really profound, experience for myself too, to witness that.
Dude, 1,000%. I got kind of like chilly just right now. And if they do watch one of these like excerpts, they'll see this huge fucking beaming smile on my face because a few times in my life have I experienced something like that supernatural or proof of something extrasensory, right? Because I'm just going to reiterate what he said in just a super fast way, everybody, to tell you the power of this. No music was playing on my end of the Zoom. I'm laying in my kids' room, in their room in my apartment, on the floor, and Brandon's on the screen next to me. And we go through this. You actually gave me extra time. I think we did like an hour and 20 or something. It just seemed a little bit longer. Something happened along the way as far as how that worked out. But regardless, when I was audiating, when I would say something or remark, or if Brandon would jump in and just, with a quip or a prompt, my reactions and my experience, it was as if I was hearing the fucking music. You're 100% right. And I swear to Christ, I did not. And you were like, what? But I thought you were saying, and you were responding. And I was like, no, dude, there was nothing in my ears this whole time except your voice. And I just thought, oh, this is a little different than the other ones that I had, where there's like, you're popping off all these like great tunes that go along with the sort of stages, right? The way it flows, right? Mm-hmm. The different levels and stages. No fucking music. Dude, I fucking bawled after that. It was fucking crazy. So anyway, yes, super powerful, man. You got a fucking gift. I don't even know. I mean, we're at 45. I can go over these tools, but I almost feel like it's like fucking awesome to end that way. What do you want to do? Should we just go through it a little quick? I don't know.
It's totally up to you. I'm happy to share the tools, or we just like, let's record another podcast. So let's keep ripping.
Yeah, man. Let's walk off into the sunset and with the note that the breath work and the opening space, holding space, especially in your experience as a coach for men who are otherwise so acculturated exactly against those propensities. Like, don't think, don't feel, well, think, but just stay in your fucking, left brain all the time. Don't feel, don't emote, have no regrets, and if you do, fuck it, stuff them. There's still in 2023, man, this really sad cultural propensity to not emote. And I will include people who identify as women as well in that. I think it's a very American thing, and I'm not going to try to get political or anything, but I think it's a very American and European American thing that we all just kind of got sucked into.
Yeah, to like hold this stature and to like, be this way. And I heard this sad, it is sad. It was a quote from like a 15-year-old boy, and he was speaking to, not being able to emote those emotions based on the society and people in school and who he's surrounded by. And he wrote, some days it would just be so much easier to actually be a woman because I wouldn't have to be emotionless.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
And if we had like a couple women on with us, boy, that's probably a fucking podcast by itself, because we know the stressors day in and day out that women feel. You and I don't consider like, do I have my keys in my hand? Do I have the mace? Do I have this? Can I walk down that fucking street or what? So there's all that, but there is more room for an emotion.
Expression of emotion.
Right. And then also they get penalized. It's a double standard though, because they get penalized. That's why we called it hysterical for years, and pinned them under the certain ways. Like, now you're being too emotional. It's like, fuck, you give no one any room to walk.
Of course.
And that is the same with, and that's a similar part with men. It's like just buck up, stuff it, And in my experience, that's where I get so much of this addiction, compulsion, these act outs that just explode after years of repression, right? And I don't know. Let's end on a note with you as far as just I don't know. Can you remember any kind of like last little experience as far as? Oh, I know what you said earlier, dude. You know what I loved what you said. Here, I'm all fucking like talking right over you. Safe and brave spaces.
Mm.
I love that. That's how you describe the place you're holding for people. And if we could have fucking more of that, right? And these open, vulnerable dialogues, so much the better.
Yeah. Safe and brave. And, I know a lot of spaces we talk about safe spaces, but yeah, brave space, and that to me means, a space where you can just be yourself and where you can just show up and be authentic and be open and be seen and be heard and share without fear of judgment. And yeah, that's the spaces that we're trying to continue to create, whether it's within a men's group or a co-ed space. And those co-ed spaces are so incredibly healing on their own for different reasons. And so,
Right.
yeah, excited about being part of that. Excited about continuing to share, with One Aether, what we have going on over there with my business partner, Charlie, and doing breathwork twice a month and yoga twice a month through our virtual community and a group community coaching call through that. But yeah, a lot of exciting stuff and just trying to follow my heart and see where it leads me.
Well, you do it, brother. You do it. You got a big fucking heart, and the communities are, better off with, you availing yourself to them, and it's a beautiful thing. I know you're going to keep doing what you're doing. We will come back and do, 8 more podcasts.
Yes,
There's plenty
please.
more to talk about. And thank you for the time, everybody. It was Brandon Groux, and I'm glad you plugged your shit at the end too, because that's important to just, keep the work going, but also, know that he is availing himself to you all, and check Brandon out. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you, Sean.
Have a good day, night, whatever, everybody. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
I hope that episode was helpful. Hey, listen, if you want to share your singlehood journey, if you've gone somewhere and come back, if you have revelations and wisdom, please share your story. It's going to help other people. Nothing makes us feel more connected than hearing other people's stories. So just send me the audio of your story, and you could just record it directly from your phone and email it to theangrytherapist@gmail.com. Also, if you want our Single on Purpose newsletter, go to singleonpurpose.life. That's singleonpurpose.life. You will get tools and articles and other people's stories, and also Zoom links to private gathers. So if you want to join our community, go to singleonpurpose.life. Thank you for listening. Be well. We hope you tell a friend. Hey, before you go, I want to invite you to the Single on Purpose private community online. It's off of social media, no ads, no algorithms. We got forums, we got live groups, we got webinars, and we have social hangs. We also have offline in-person hangs happening soon. So check us out. Go to singleonpurpose.life. That's singleonpurpose.life, and I will see you inside.